Jeff. It's
Jock and Jeff.
We made it.
Hello,
everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here today and watching. We are so excited. So both myself and Dr. Jeff Pierce are going to be hosting the Doc and Chef today. So I just want to, first of all, just tell you a little bit about them. So the Doc is Dr. Jim Loomis. He's a medical doctor. And he and Caryn Dugan, who is the chef, bring together science and cuisine to make plant-based living practical and empowering. Dr. Loomis is a board-certified lifestyle medicine physician and the medical director at the Barnard Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And then Caryn Dugan, who's going to be joining us in a little bit, is the founder of the Center for Plant-Based Living in St. Louis, which transforms evidence-based nutrition into delicious, approachable meals. And together on their Doc and Chef platform, they demystify whole food plant-based eating, one science-backed recipe and conversation at a time. So we are so excited to have you here today to learn a little bit more about the two of you and just what you do in this wonderful plant-based world. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think Caryn's backstage and should be here in just a second.
Oh, fabulous.
What's what my people are telling me. So.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So I guess first of all, let's see where people are watching from. So if you are watching us on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. Hi, Caryn. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And so we are just asking people where they're watching from. Caryn, where are you watching from?
St. Louis. I'm in St. Louis, middle of the country.
And then Jim, where are you?
I'm in Washington, D.C., which is where the Barnard Medical Center is located.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And then I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. And Dr. Pierce, you are in Santa Rosa, California. A beautiful place.
Yeah, we got a pretty good spread today. Pretty good spread representing the country, the coasts, the middle. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we do. We really do.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see. I'm hoping, I know we've got some comments here. Let's see.
Looks like we got somebody from Los Angeles, Washington State, Arizona.
Jeff, are you able to post those on so that people can see them? I'm having a hard time getting that to work for me.
Oh, I see the comments now. That's
I see
Florida.
North Canton, Ohio.
Nebraska, Arizona. Very cool. Oh, and we have Dr. Scheuer over in Colorado as well. Thanks for being here,
Great. Kat. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. All right. So I would love to kind of start out with just kind of getting to know the two of you a little bit more, you know, for people who maybe aren't familiar with what you guys do. It'd be great to just hear a little bit from each of you.
Sure.
How did you get onto this plant-based train?
Jim, you take it first.
Well, you know, like most doctors, probably every doctor on, you know, that I know at least, we didn't learn really anything meaningful about nutrition in medical school. But really, you know, the nutrition education I had was really glorified biochemistry, right? You know, this is a protein and this is a carb and here's a vitamin and here's all the nasty diseases you get when you don't get enough of these things. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen beriberi or scurvy in real life. And so any nutrition education any knowledge I gained was, you know, reading the dietary guidelines or whatever. And, you know, if you would have asked me if I ate healthy 10 or 15 years ago, I said, well, sure. Low fat, dairy, lean meat, fruits and vegetables, whole grains. And, you know, I could have ice cream, but only in moderation. And well, it turns out that moderation is not the key. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that, as you well know. And in the fall of 2010, I tore my meniscus playing with my dog, and I had to wait a few months to get surgery. So I couldn't exercise, and I started to gain weight. And then because doctors are terrible patients, at least I was, I didn't do the rehab after surgery, and I gained more weight. And one morning, and in the spring of 2011, I woke up and I was in AFib, atrial fibrillation. And it turns out I had developed sleep apnea from the weight gain. And I finally went and had a physical, and my cholesterol's through the roof. I got prediabetes. I got a borderline blood pressure. And next thing I know, I'm on a CPAP machine and a flecainide and a antiarrhythmic, I'm a statin. I'm headed for metformin and blood pressure. I'd really become, honestly, the average patient that I saw every day in my office. I lived in St. Louis at the time. I trained at WashU. My doctors are all from WashU, really world-class docs, but no one ever asked me what I had for dinner last night. And one day, my fat rear end was laying on the couch, and I stumbled across the documentary Forks Over Knives that had just come out. And I thought, wow, food is medicine. Like, how come I didn't learn that in medical school? I was on the faculty at WashU, looked up some of the research, and even in 2011, the breadth and the depth of the research about the health benefits of a plant-predominant diet, was out there. It's just I'd never been exposed to it. So literally overnight, made a decision to transition to a plant-based diet, rehab my knee, and in 4 months or so, I lost like 50 pounds without even trying. When I lost the weight, the sleep apnea went away. When the sleep apnea went away, the AFib went away. My cholesterol dropped, from 260 pre-med, my total down to, 150 off meds. My LDL dropped from 165 pre-meds to 55 off meds, et cetera. I could exercise again. And that's when I really learned about the power of plant-based diets and lifestyle medicine in general. And it really transitioned my whole approach to medicine. I was in my early 50s, burned out primary care doctor, like, all my colleagues. And all of a sudden I have the power to help people really, really get to the root cause of their chronic diseases and help them prevent, treat, and reverse them. And along that journey, I was a pretty accomplished home cook. And so making the transition to cooking plant-based foods was pretty easy for me. And I actually started teaching cooking classes at a local cooking school in St. Louis. Well, lo and behold, my good friend and colleague now, Caryn, was cooking at the same school. I'll spare you the details of how we met, but and the rest is history, as they say. Caryn will tell you her part of the story, but practicing lifestyle medicine in St. Louis was hard. St. Louis is a great place to get sick, but it was hard to get well. There was no resources. I literally had endocrinologists accusing me of malpractice for telling their patients we could reverse their diabetes. And when the opportunity came up in 2015 to move to here to DC to become the medical director at the newly opening Barnard Medical Center, my kids were off in college now, and I thought, you know what, maybe it's time. And so I sold all my stuff, packed up my car, and drove to DC, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. All right. Well, I am a little curious about what you didn't want to share about your meeting with Caryn, but
Oh no, Dr. Davis,
you've just piqued my curiosity.
No, Dr. Davis, we'll get to that, because you can either have Jim's version of the story, or you can have the truth. So,
well, then, what's great is that he deferred to you, so now we get to hear your version only.
We get to hear the truth then, right?
That's right. Yeah, he's come around a little bit, but because he knows that I always kick him if he tells his version.
All right.
So
step away for a few. No.
Right.
Just kidding.
Yeah, he knows. He's trainable. I real quick, we don't need to get into too much of the minutia of this, but real quick, 2008, lost my dad to cancer. 10 weeks after he passed away, I was diagnosed. So that was really the 1-2 punch that I needed to get my butt in gear to adding more plants to my plate. And I'll tell you, I mean, it really, when you're scared almost to death, I don't mean to be too dramatic about that, but it was pretty scary time. I thought, all right, well, I don't think that I'm ready to go, so I need to turn this ship around. And I don't even know what that means, because I thought I was healthy, I wasn't having any symptoms or anything. And So I thought, what do healthy people do? And sitting here in the middle of the country, very conservatively growing up, I didn't know what else to do, but you just go to the doctor. The doctor's always right, whatever. And I thought, well, healthy people, again, quotes, they do yoga or they meditate. And I'm too much of a crazy spaz person to do that. That wasn't going to resonate. And then I thought, well, people are always talking about eating your greens or eating your fruits and vegetables, whatever. I was never into that. And so at the time I was working for a medical practice, and became friends with a lot of the physicians there, and said, okay, I need somebody to teach me how to read medical studies, medical papers, journals. And so I learned, and I started Googling papers and going into PubMed and going into all the places and really reading. And I realized, and it was a shock, that a vegan diet had the potential of slowing some cancers, reversing a lot of chronic illnesses, all these things that I have never heard of. And I just, like Jim, like I didn't go to medical school, but I've certainly never heard this from any of my doctors. And, again, middle of the country, very conservative. Nobody was saying plant-based at the time. They were saying vegan. And oh my gosh, you don't want to be vegan because crazy, I don't mean any disrespect. We've come a long way, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, all right, just in order to check off a box, I'll go ahead and try this vegan thing. So in one fell swoop, I took all the animal products and animal containing products out of my house, went to the grocery store and had to eat the rainbow now, red things and purple things and blue things and white things and yellow things and, all the things in my grocery cart, except nothing gave me microwavable instructions, which is what I was used to. So I just went back to Google and looked up vegan, easy vegan recipes. And I'll tell you what, I sucked so bad at cooking. I was so bad. I kind of didn't care because I was like, I'm not going to do this forever. But oh my God, these people are weirdos. I don't know what to eat, because I clearly knew what to eat. Velveeta and Tyson chicken breast was the way to go, if you ask me. So I gave it some time, and I just started like eating this gross food and it wasn't gross food. It's just I didn't know what I was doing. And so I went to a cooking class, go figure, at Whole Foods here in town in St. Louis. And the instructor was awesome. She was using like 3-4 ingredients per recipe. Everything tasted so good. It was easy. And I thought, all right, I can do this for like another week or something. She calls me after class and is like, would you like to be my assistant? And I got so excited for some reason. I don't even know why I got excited. So for just 2 times a month, I was her pack mule, handed out the recipes to class, did all the washed all the dishes, was just kind of like the little gopher, And that went on for 2 years. And then she left because their husband was transferred. Whole Foods says, you're up. And I said, no way. I went on my way, and they said, here's an application. And I said, no, thanks. And filled out the application eventually. And they said, you're hired. And oh my gosh, you guys, I was so scared my first class. I can still it makes me sweat right now. I was so nervous. And so they're like, great class, whatever. I was like, oh, no. If somebody's going to trade their money for my time, or, and their time too, I've got to learn something. So I applied to become a Food for Life coach at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, where Jim is, in 2011. And wow, that was just like an infusion of information that was just mind blowing. And it really got me on board. And then started teaching classes. I was a personal chef. I was a private chef. I had a meal delivery service. These are all just kinds of things I've done over the years to kind of figure out my way in this whole plant-based arena. And a lot of people do the same thing, just kind of like do a lot of things to figure out where they're going to land. And in 2019, I opened up the nation's first and only fully plant-based nutrition and culinary education center called the Center for Plant-Based Living. Opened that on the anniversary of my dad's passing, and had a great time. And told Jim that he was my medical director. Didn't give him a chance. Even had
I didn't have an application. No, I did not.
Even had his business cards already printed up before I told him. Because truth of the matter is, I needed more street cred. As a plant-based chef, I was a health and wellness coach. I was trying to do all these things, really making inroads on TV all the time. I have a background in broadcast journalism, and that just wasn't going to be enough if I didn't have an MD on board. It's just a sign of the times. So we did a lot of cooking classes together, and it was a great time. Really got the community involved. And then COVID happened, which is fine. But then during that time, we all had to do something, pivot, right? We all use that word. And we started a virtual membership, which really took off. And then when we opened back up, eventually the world opened back up. I had to pick a lane. And so because having a brick and mortar is so expensive, and we were able to touch more people virtually, I thought, shoot, you know what? It's a stepping stone in life. It's bittersweet, but we're just going to do the membership. And the Center for Plant-Based Living is thriving online. So we have a lot going on there. And then the Doc and Chef, which we're also doing now, which is kind of the personality of the Center for Plant-Based Living. Jim and I were separately asked to present at a medical conference in Midland, Texas. Shout out Landman if you're a fan. And we went out to dinner that night, one of the nights, and we were kind of talking about just this whole plant-based stuff, because that's the only thing we talk about. Geek. And he said, I get all these questions all the time. Where do you get protein on a plant-based diet? Is soy going to give you man boobs? Do you, are nightshades bad or good? All these things. And I'm like, yeah, I get the same questions, but I answer through a culinary viewpoint, right? Because that's how people are asking me, what foods for this, for that. And Jim's answering the questions through a medical standpoint, of course. So we were like, light bulb, we should put this together. We should start a YouTube channel. And yes, there were some drinks involved. And so we did, and that took off. So now we have we have some more kind of banked that our editor needs to get to, but we have 35 episodes now, and they're all topic driven. So the first one, of course, is where are you going to get protein on a plant-based diet? And the episodes are anywhere between 6 and 15 minutes long on YouTube. Everything is free. Jim talks about the science behind the topic at hand. He then throws it over to me, where I create a recipe focused solely on the topic of what's at hand. And then after that, Jim writes a scientifically backed, evidence-backed blog post, giving the viewer or whomever more detail about what we have just talked about, if you would like to read further. So I said it was going to be short. Sorry. That's what's happening.
That's incredible. So what is the website for your membership?
Plantbasedcenter.com.
Right. Like that.
And you'll find that that's the home of Doc and Chef too, or you can go to docandchef.com and find this as well. And then, about the Doc and Chef, we started out as this, we were just doing this kind of as a side project, creating YouTube videos. And then we got asked actually to it's like, how about you guys do like a live Doc and Chef show at this was at Fairfax Veg Fest, I think. Isn't that right? The first live show we did?
That was the first one. Yeah.
And, here in DC. And so we said, well, sure. So Caryn came up and we did this live show, and the live show is a little bit different. And then Caryn creates a recipe, but it's not just a cooking demo. At each step of the recipe, I talk about the science behind the technique. Why are we doing an oil-free saute? What are the health benefits of onions? What are the health benefits of tomatoes? And then Caryn, demonstrates it from a culinary standpoint. And little did we know that went crazy. We've literally traveled the world the last couple of years. We've been on 3 cruise ships. We've been to Moldova and Romania, and we've been this year we were in Syracuse. We saw you in Sonoma. We were in Sonoma at the Sonoma Veg Fest. We're Syracuse Veg Fest, Rochester Veg Fest, Durham, Asheville, Albuquerque. We were in Redondo Beach just recently for a presentation. So there's a lot more out there. We've done some work with we presented at the U.S. Air Force's very first Lifestyle and Performance Medicine Summit last year here at the Defense Health Agency. I'm on the faculty at the military med school here. We do a lot of work with the military. In fact, we just got invited to speak at the Pentagon just after the first of the year. So anyway, it's really morphed from this kind of educational YouTube channel to a third full-time job.
That's the truth.
That's okay, because we both love it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that you bring that up because, as I guess not only physicians, but Caryn, we're all really passionate about this plant-based and lifestyle medicine. But when you get so passionate about something, it's hard to not have it be what you do all day, every day, right?
Right.
So we definitely do. I think sometimes we can extend ourselves a little bit more than we probably should when we need to make sure we're still doing self-care, but it's hard when you're really passionate. So I can hear that definitely.
And the other thing is, it's really it's three full time. It's really not a job, right? I mean, there's no blurring. It's not like I go to work and then I come home and I'm not working. I mean, it's really, it all just blends together. And I don't do getting on stage or getting on a call, a podcast or doing it. Last night we had a live cooking class, Caryn and I, for the members. I don't view, that's not extra work. That's just part of what I do. And it's, it's no longer work when you have that passion. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Because when, if somebody asks, I'm sure all of us feel this way, but when somebody comes to you and says, I know you've been doing this plant-based thing for a while. I'm a little bit curious about it. And then you're like, let me tell you everything. And you can just talk about it for hours and hours, right? And that's kind of what we get to do all the time. We just put ourselves in a position to just talk about it constantly.
Even the Uber drivers get to hear about it, right?
Oh yeah. We were, in fact, Dr. Pierce, were you in the car when we were at the Plantrition conference in Palm Springs a couple of years ago? And there was a bunch of us crammed in this car. I'm thinking now that maybe you weren't there, but I think there were 4 of us, right, crammed in this car. And this Uber driver definitely learned all about why eating plant-based was a good idea.
It's a funny story. As you may know, I was in the documentary Game Changers, and whoever hasn't seen it, it's really a fantastic documentary. And I was in an Uber going to a conference, and he must have taken some other people, and I think it was ACLM conference. And he said, "Oh, you're going to the conference? Are you speaking?" I said, "Yeah. What are you speaking on?" Some plant-based thing. He goes, "Oh, I just started following. You should watch this documentary called Game Changers." Like, well, as a matter of fact, and then he wanted to do a selfie at the end. It was pretty hilarious. So,
oh, that's amazing.
But the point of that is, though, it's amazing the reach. You never know who you're going to touch, whether it be in an Uber to an Uber driver or your seatmate on the plane or whatever, right? I mean, you just never know the reach you have, and some of that comes back in a good way, for sure.
Yeah, and some of it doesn't happen immediately, right? Sometimes it takes people years after they've kind of gotten that first little bit of information from someone. So, and I'm talking also kind of as a provider where, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, that you'll hear from maybe like a family doctor or an internal medicine doctor that they don't really spend the time to talk about nutrition and lifestyle. First of all, of course, we know they didn't get the training in it, but also they say, well, they're not going to do it anyway. So what's the purpose of
Right,
me
right.
talking to them
Yeah.
about it, right? But you really do have to give people the benefit of the doubt, because I did my residency in Montana, which is not very plant-based friendly.
Right.
And I had several patients that I really thought, boy, there's probably no way that this person, but I would always give some kind of flyer. Even if I didn't even talk about it, I would give them some kind of a handout. And sure enough, there were a few people who I would have never guessed went
Right.
100% vegan, plant-based, and had just incredible improvements.
Right.
So much so that the supervising doctors I was working with didn't believe me. They didn't believe that that was the only intervention.
Right. Right.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Experience, yeah. And the other thing is, first of all, to your point, you don't plant an acorn and grow an oak tree the next day, right? It takes a while to sprout and grow roots and grow. And I don't think any patient, I've never seen a patient that came and said, doc, I love being sick. I love being a diabetic. I love being on this cholesterol medicine. But I think part of the problem is no one has ever presented them an alternative view of what healthcare really is, right? Because if you think about the modern healthcare system that we operate in, it's not a healthcare system, it's a sick care system. And what we actually learned in medical school was a giant game of whack-a-mole, right? And so, here you're well, here you're dead. And people start this kind of slow decline. We hope we make it to 80, and they come see us to try to make sure that that curve doesn't go down too fast or too steep. But how do we do it, right? Here's some blood pressure pills, and here's some cholesterol pills, and here's some diabetes pills, and here's a delayed bypass stent. Here's some chemo, and here's Alzheimer's. That's what we call healthcare. And so in that system, we certainly have the ability to add years to our patients' lives, but we take away life from their years, right? We give them drugs, side effects, expense, disability that accumulates. And no one's ever presented an alternative view of what healthcare really is, where, this is well and this is dead. And, the curve looks like this, because we all got to die. You just don't want it to be your fault, right? And the only way you're going to stay up here is lifestyle medicine, really, right? And what's interesting about that construct is at age 50, I was right down here, half down that curve. At age 66, I'm way back up here. When was the last time I was as healthy? Probably 35. And so when people ask me how old I am, I'm 35 with 31 years experience. And I guarantee you there's not enough drugs in the pharmacy to take me from where I was to back where I am today. So again, and that's kind of the message I try to share with especially new patients, to show them that in fact, there is an alternative way to present them with a scenario. Imagine your 80th birthday. Do you want to be on a golf course or on the beach or out dancing with your granddaughter or on a cruise ship, or do you want to be in a nursing home, right? And they're all, we can help you get to that place you really, really want to be.
Yeah.
Deliciously,
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we've got a few questions that have come in. I, unfortunately, on my screen, I'm not able to see them. If any of you guys want to read out any comments or questions that you see that might be something good for us to take a look at.
So far, I think there's just a lot of hellos and checking in. Charlie says she loves the show. Thank you, Charlie, from South Carolina. We appreciate you being here. But yeah, it's a great time. If anyone has any questions for Caryn and Jim, to shoot them their way. Such repositories of information to talk about ways to stay healthy in a tasty way. I'm a huge fan of what you folks have put up on YouTube. So if folks out there aren't yet subscribed to the Doc and Chef, you should. For providers, Nikki, you were talking about that busy, the busy primary care doc, the busy family doc, intern, et cetera. You can refer folks to say, hey, check out this. And you had this question about, protein. You had this question about how to make something that will include omega-3s for heart health and brain health. Just go to their channel and there's something on it. And so I really love how it's very topic specific, of course, and also how it is tied between the science and something practical you can do in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is I actually write, literally almost write prescriptions for Caryn's membership program. I mean, you can, there's a couple of tiers, $15, $30 a month. And because, instead of metformin, right? Because, again, many people don't have, unfortunately, we're getting ready to publish a review article on the decline in kitchen confidence and why that's happened and what the adverse health effects of that are in society and how restoring kitchen confidence can improve health outcomes. And Caryn does such a fantastic job of making this accessible. I'll let you explain and I'll let you talk about that in a minute. But the membership, Caryn's a certified health coach. Once a month, there's a group support call we have. Once a quarter, I actually join that call. We have a doctor session. There's monthly cooking classes. But Caryn can kind of talk about, how she runs the membership and how she uses these classes to help move the needle for people who don't have the confidence they may need to really succeed in the kitchen.
Well, but if it's okay, and I can kind of wrap that into some questions that are coming up.
Great.
So the bottom, he has a lot. Someone's father has a lot of specific requirements, a bit older, and not confident in the kitchen. So. Number one, I did start a series, and I think there's 5 out now, a series of videos on YouTube. They're free, and it's called Kitchen Confidence. So I would suggest looking at that, and I don't know the specific requirements that he has, so happy to talk with you about that. And that's really probably where the community comes in with our membership. We have a platform. It's like Facebook, but it's not Facebook, where everybody can get together and swap ideas and tips and tricks and all that kind of thing. But also with the cooking class once a month, I invite people to cook with me. So you're cooking from the comfort of your own kitchen, using your own equipment, you're in your own space. And then, as I always say, when class is over, dinner's on the table, you've made it yourself, you know exactly how to do it next time. And then, yes, we have the support call once a month as well. So I think that would help move the needle a little bit for this gentleman who is kind of wavery in the kitchen. I get it. Like, I mean, I again, my story, I don't come from a line of chefs or cooks or anything, had to kind of learn this stuff on my own. So I think everybody's teachable. So I hope that helps. Now, there is a question about food deserts. I do some work with a hospital for special surgery in New York City, HSS. And I was there in April, May, something. And we went to about 3 or 4 bodegas in Manhattan, looking for, and filming, by the way, this was an HSS project, filming to find healthy foods within these bodegas and kind of these in different neighborhoods. And though it was challenging, it was doable. And I will say that this the final bodega that we went to, the owner came up to us as we were filming and said, what are you doing? This is clearly a beg for forgiveness instead of ask for permission situation. And we said, well, we're with HSS Hospital and we are looking for healthy alternatives or healthy foods for people in different bodegas around Manhattan. And he was like, he was so thankful, and he goes, oh my gosh, can I have a copy of this? And we said, absolutely. So you can find it, but I think that at least in my experience, people don't know what healthy means, right. So if you're looking at the front of a package and it says all natural or low sugar or whatever, I don't want to, try not to believe everything you see on the front of a package, on the side of a package. Look at the ingredients. Now, okay, well, what ingredients am I looking for, right? You're looking for ingredients where there's just, 5 or 6 or less, and you understand each of the words. You can spell and say and pronounce all of the words that are in the ingredients. You can picture those ingredients. So, and that is more difficult. This is a modern society. We're going to have processed and highly processed foods, ultra processed foods. You just can't get away from it. But it's about education and learning about what those foods are that you really want to seek out. And also in a food desert, is it a challenge? You bet it's a challenge. But it is still doable.
For patients, beans, rice, Frozen vegetables are another great resource. People perceive that frozen vegetables are not as healthy. In fact, unless you're buying at a local farmer's market where the food's been out of the ground for, a day or half a day, in fact, frozen vegetables are probably more nutritious because most of those are flash frozen right after they're picked. And so, they're not trucked halfway across the country with, by the time they reach the grocery store, they've already lost 40-50% of their nutritional value. And so, there's lots of little tips you can do to help teach people that there are options that are available. And I just wanted to also just comment real quick on this HSS project we're involved with. It's really pretty amazing. So Dr. Heidi Prather was head of the physical medicine rehab department at WashU and became interested in lifestyle medicine and founded the Living Well Center at WashU to help their musculoskeletal patients optimize their health. And when she left there and went to HSS, where she's replicated that program. And we're doing some of the culinary education, and we've written some of the lifestyle medicine guide. We actually wrote the lifestyle medicine guide. And these are to help optimize these patients' health before surgery. And their preliminary data about the patients that are going through these programs are unbelievable, right? So shorter hospital stays. And this is like a 6-week program. Shorter hospital stays, less infection, lower infection rates, less opioid use, quicker return to work. About 10% didn't need surgery because they either lost enough weight or their diet was. And there was a question earlier about arthritis. I want to get to it in a minute, but their diet became anti-inflammatory instead of the pro-inflammatory kind of Western diet that people eat. And even more amazing than that, there was a pretty large subset of patients that were too sick, that they were too ill to get surgery. Their BMI was too high, their A1C was too high, et cetera. 80% of those patients qualified for surgery that they needed. These are back replacement, these are hip replacement and spine surgery primarily, qualified for surgery after this program. And so, I mean, imagine that lifestyle medicine could transform how we think about musculoskeletal health. And when we talk about arthritis, what's really interesting about that, when we look at autoimmune arthritis, arthritides like rheumatoid arthritis, or even now we know osteoarthritis, there's a connection to our gut microbiome, right? And if we could design an environment to destroy the human gut microbiome in the modern world, we've done it, right? And we C-section babies, we don't breastfeed, we have to scrub the dirt off our food because we put so many pesticides and herbicides. We polluted the water. We pass out antibiotics. We don't eat enough fiber. So when you transition to a plant-based diet, those high fiber serves as a prebiotic food. We restore the gut microbiome. This inflammation goes down exponentially. And some of the inflammation comes from the overconsumption of omega-6 fatty acids, which is primarily meat and dairy, and the underconsumption of omega-3s, which is chia and hemp and walnuts and things like that. And then not eating the rainbow. It's not getting enough dietary antioxidants, which only come in plants. There are a few specific foods. High-dose turmeric, because of the curcumin, can be beneficial for patients. There have been a couple studies comparing high-dose curcumin compared to non-steroidals in patients with degenerative arthritis, and showed equally efficacious without the side effects that come from these non-steroidal drugs. We have a whole show on turmeric, actually. And what's the one culinary tip people need to know about turmeric, Caryn?
Add in freshly ground black pepper.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So the black pepper increases the curcumin absorption by about 2,000%. So you'll see on the curcumin extract, you'll often see biopurine, piperidine listed on the ingredient. That's the active polyphenol flavonoid that you find in black pepper. And that's the reason why you absorb that extra the curcumin to get the anti-inflammatory effect. Also has a pretty profound anti-cancer effect too. And if you want to learn more, see our show and read the blog post. It goes along with it. It's all free.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the food is medicine, and the connection between the science and practically what to do in the kitchen is so powerful, right? You could have a busy doctor make a recommendation, and then that patient goes home and says, well, my doc says I need to eat more plants, but I have no idea what to do about it. And one cool project that I that I'm involved in, lucky enough to be involved in, is through our county patient population just outside of Oakland, California. And we do this. We have it's a group-based format. We talk about the health benefits of eating this way, and then we have a chef that is in that group and working with this, for example, this cohort of pregnant and postpartum women. And some women will say, hey, this is the first time I ever chopped garlic. I didn't know. I've always been afraid to do this. And it's just so empowering.
Right.
Now they know that they can create something healthy, tasty for the whole family. And then all of a sudden, it's not just their health and their baby's health, but their husband's health, their mother-in-law's health, and,
That's right.
and it's just
Their neighbor, the whole thing, right? I mean, it's very interesting. There's a ton of research around the role that social connections play in our health, right? So, for example, there was a study that said if someone in your close social network, so that's family, friends, is obese, then you have an 80% chance of being obese yourself. And so we look at social networks, friends, family, neighbors, work, community, it kind of expands out this way. And the people you surround yourself with are the people that if you like to go to the bar and watch football and drink beer all Sunday, well, those are the people you're going to surround yourself with. If you like to do triathlons, then those are the people you're going to surround yourself with. And so
pickleball.
Yeah, or pickleball. No,
Everybody's into pickleball.
So, but if our behaviors change, you're right, Nikki. That bleeds over, if you will, into the people that are around us, and it's an incredibly important thing that I can't tell you how many people made fun of me for being these. So like high school friends would make fun. They would send me memes on Facebook of they're cooking their meat. And then I go to the high school reunion and they come up to me privately and say, you look great. You're gray and balder, but still, now tell me exactly what you're doing again. And, or how many messages I've gotten from Facebook privately. Like, I just want to let you know that I've never said anything to you. And I haven't seen you in 30 years, but I've been following you along. I switched to a plant-based diet. My wife, her arthritis went away. My cholesterol got better, reversed my diabetes. So we do influence people, and the people influence each other, as you said, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's funny. I had that same situation happen recently where I went to my high school reunion this last summer, and same thing. I had a couple of people reach out to me saying, "Okay, tell me about this plant-based thing," right? And I wasn't out there trying to talk about it at all. But it comes up, right? They're like, boy, you've lost weight since high school, and it seems like you're doing really well. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And that's what, even when I started doing this back in 2008, I never asked my family or friends to do this. I was trying to figure it out myself, because as we know, when you first start on this journey, everyone is not just asking you questions, but telling you you're not getting enough nutrients, or and
everyone gets a PhD in nutrition all of a sudden, right?
When they do. It's like, yeah. So I really did kind of keep it to myself for a long time until I started learning more and more, and then became certified, and but I still never, and just human, just being human. Once, if somebody says you better do this, well, what are we going to do? We're going to turn around and go the other way. So I think just leading by example, and also educating only the facts and not the bro science, not the social media stuff, but really rooted in science. And there's whoever wants to listen is going to listen. If you're not, you're not. That's okay. You find information where you want to find information.
And we do pride ourselves really on making sure that to the best of our knowledge, we're presenting evidence-based information in our live shows and our YouTube channel, because it is important. There is so much pro science out there, especially when you start talking to athletes. I mean, oh my gosh, it's insane. In my previous life, when I lived in St. Louis, I was the team doctor for the St. Louis Cardinal baseball team and the St. Louis Rams football team, and around a lot of big, high performing professional athletes. Now, this was before I went plant-based, but the amount of bro science that, was there. You would go into the weight room. It didn't matter which sport. And literally they had blenders. They had blenders all around the room so everybody could make their protein shakes, right? You would go to the pregame meal before a Rams game. So this is 8, 9 in the morning for a noon game. And on the buffet, it'd be chicken breast, steak, and pasta, right? Because you got to get your carbs and your protein, right? And as in the movie Game Changers, Derek Morgan, who was a defensive end for the Tennessee Titans, talks about how when he transitioned, I wish I would have known this back then, although I don't know that anybody would listen to me, that when he went plant-based, his recovery was so much faster that it allowed him to train harder, and his teammates were amazed. And I experienced that actually when I used to be a pretty competitive marathon runner in medical school, 250-ish, somewhere in there. But I'd run a marathon. I couldn't walk for 4 or 5 days. I was so sore. To celebrate my 60th birthday, I unsuccessfully tried to kill myself by completing Lake Ironman 2 weeks after I turned 60. And that's a 2.4 mile swim and a 112 mile bike, and then you get to run a marathon. And I can honestly tell you, I never got sore. I never got stiff, and I was on a plant-based diet. And so and that gets back to some of that inflammation thing. But the bro science would say, how can you do an Ironman without eating meat? Because you're not going to get enough protein, and it's hard to sometimes overcome that.
Yeah, and I have a lot of motivated patients coming to see me, and they're excited about changing up their diet and changing up their lifestyle, and so they want to get out and exercise more, and they hire a personal trainer. And then guess what our next visit is all about? It's about protein, because they're telling me I need to get 150 grams a day or whatever it is, right? Is this real? What is this based on? And so then you have to have that conversation over and over and over again, because it's so prevalent out there that I don't know why this is still a trend.
Right.
I don't either.
Dr. Prather, Heidi Prather, and I are getting ready to publish a paper in the surgical world. It's the same problem. There are surgeons who will make patients sign a paper they're not going to operate them if they don't agree to eat meat. Because there's still this myth out there, and that plant-based proteins aren't complete and they're less bioavailable. And so we wrote this review article that debunks, it talks about where this mythology came from, why even the stuff around bioavailability is, that research is completely flawed. And if you look at real world research, comparing people that, like people trying to gain strength or gain muscle, that there's no difference whatsoever. And their chronic cardiometabolic diseases, which are risk factors for post-surgical morbidity and mortality, go down, on and on and on when you eat more of a plant-based diet. So even within our colleagues, some of that knowledge has not percolated through, let's say. Let me ask you, how many times have you had a diabetic come in and their endocrinologist told them to watch their carbs, right?
Almost every single one.
Yeah.
How many of them told them it's not carbs, it's fat that's the fundamental problem? Never, right?
Never.
Yeah, right. So even the science hasn't gotten into the medical community, unfortunately. It's kind of sad, but
well, and the other thing is, so I will have diabetic patients coming to me because they're not getting better, and they say, I don't know why, because I'm doing everything that my doctor told me to do. I've cut carbs almost completely. I don't hardly eat any carbohydrates at all, and my A1C is worsening. What's going on here, right? And we know.
Right. And Caryn does a great job. We demonstrate oil-free sautés, dry sautés in every single class. That's how we start out. So, and Caryn can talk about that, but all of our recipes are, there's really no added sugar. We might use some sweetener. Caryn can talk about that, but yeah.
Well, it's funny, even just with the oil, and everybody here on this call knows, but if I have somebody new in a class and I'm doing a dry saute and I'm really getting pushback, especially about olive oil and extra virgin olive oil and extra virgin olive oil, I say, listen, 1 tablespoon of oil, I don't care if it's olive, coconut, sesame, motor oil, doesn't matter. It's 125 calories, 100% fat, 14 grams of fat per tablespoon. And if you are gulp, 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 adding that to your pan before you add your vegetables and all these other beautiful things, then you're adding, do the math, 400, 600, 700 calories to your meal before you even add any ingredients. So people don't, and listen, I was the same way, and this is all part of education. I didn't equate calories with oil when I would begin a saute. It's just what you do. But
you get all those calories, you're getting all those extra calories, and it's not even like helping fill you up at all.
Right.
You don't even notice, right?
No.
It's just kind of like this layer that's part of the meal that you don't really notice.
And a layer is a perfect word, Dr. Davis, because you're adding a buffer between the pan and your food so that the food slides around, right? Well, you're also adding that buffer, that layer of oil in your mouth when you eat that food. So you're not even tasting the real flavors because you have that oil buffer over your taste buds. You take that out, you won't believe the kind of chef you are. Fantastic. Everybody is wowed by that.
So yeah, when this question comes up with me, I the little spiel I give is, we should think about our calories like we think about our money, right? We have extra money when investing in our financial future, and we're looking for a positive return on investment. Well, every calorie you put in your mouth is either an investment in your health future or it's not, right? And if you have 100 calories to invest in olive oil or chicken breast or beans and broccoli, what does the nutritional ROI of each of those look like? Well, Dr. Davis, you already talked about what's the nutritional ROI of 100 calories of oil. It's fat, right? There's no fiber. There's no cancer-fighting phytonutrients. There's no antioxidants. I mean, there's a few polyphenols in cold-pressed olive oil, but not very many, right? So in fact, edible oils at 4,000 calories a pound are by far the worst nutritional investment you can make of any of the macronutrients. What about chicken breast or beef, whatever? And by the way, it's only a tablespoon. So how much space does that take up it's less than a tablespoon. How much space does that take in your stomach? 100 calories of beef, fish, pork, it's about an ounce. So again, think about how much space that takes up in your stomach. What do you get back from that besides protein and fat? Well, nothing, right? There's no fiber. There's no cancer-fighting phytonutrients or antioxidants or potassium to lower your blood pressure. And in fact, if you really think about it, the animals have just served as the middleman for the nutrition, right? They've already used all that good stuff. They've concentrated what's left into protein and fat, which we then consume. Now, 10,000 years ago, there was probably a survival advantage to having the animals do that for us because we're trying to get big and strong, get away from leopard and find a mate before we died of certain infectious disease when we're 30. So we never had to worry about if I eat too much of this meat, am I going to get cancer, or diabetes, or a heart attack because we're already dead. And what about 100 calories of beans or broccoli? Well, that's like 12, 14 ounces, right? So, and you're going to be full. What's your nutritional return? Protein, fiber, cancer-fighting phytonutrients, so it's these nutrient-dense plant-based foods, which is how we should be investing our calories if we really want to be healthful down the road.
There's a great question right there from Sam Murphy.
Yeah, so it's another protein question. It is a great question because there's so much confusion. So the average person of average kind of activity level, the current RDA is 0.36 grams per pound, somewhere in there. Now, there are some people that need more protein than that. And certainly endurance athletes probably need half a gram a pound, maybe even a little bit more, depending on how far you go. Strength train athletes maybe need a little more than that. But there is some evidence that as we get older, one of the problems that people develop is called sarcopenia. So we lose muscle mass, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Part of it has to do with physical inactivity. Our protein requirements probably do go up, and so I usually recommend for someone over the age of 65, and especially they need to be doing resistance training 2 or 3 days a week, no doubt. But you probably need about half a gram a pound, somewhere in there, maybe a tad more. And that's ideal body weight. So that's what I typically recommend. Now, I might bump that up a little bit if people are, are training, or because I have 74-year-olds who are doing marathons, and I might recommend for them maybe 0.75, somewhere in there, 0.6. The thing is, though, here's the thing: if you do the math backwards, as far as plant-based protein, plants have about 15% protein, right? So if you're on an 1,800 calorie a day diet, 1,500 calorie a day diet, and 15% of that is protein, is 15% of those calories are protein. That puts you about 65, 70 grams of protein, maybe 7. That's exactly where most of us need to be. All right, so I'm training for Ironman, and so my protein requirements have probably doubled, right? But guess what? I'm not eating 2,000, 1,800 calories a day anymore. I'm eating 4,000 calories a day. So what happened to my protein intake? What doubled?
Exactly.
So in general, if we just eat enough calories, now again, as we get older, especially you don't want to gain too much unhealthy weight. So those folks probably do need a little bit extra protein. What do you recommend? What do you guys recommend?
Same ballpark. I mean, I think in kilograms, so 0.8 grams per kilogram of healthy body weight protein, which is coming out about to what you're saying. And then as somebody gets older, or someone's really an athlete in training, then we're higher, 1.2 maybe.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And if you're an NFL player, you might need 1.8 or 2 or somewhere in there. But very few people do that. And that's what the trainers are recommended, by the way.
Right. And
pound.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course the unspoken maybe thought is that, well, if I eat the protein, my muscles get big. And it's really, you got to do the work. And even if you're doing an average amount of work, which is what the average person has time to do in a busy day anyway, you don't need that much, right? You're just going to be eating more naturally, like you said, Jim, and getting it naturally. And so save some bucks on some of these protein powders that might have contaminants that are expensive, and just eat real food.
That's right. Well, and the thing is, we can store extra protein, we can store extra carbohydrate. We store it as glycogen and convert what's left to fat. We store extra fat, but we can't store extra protein, right? We can store a little bit, but not very much. And so once we exceed our protein needs, it gets converted to nitrogen, treating our urine. It stimulates IGF-1, which there's some, protein's an anabolic substance, so it helps us grow cells and muscle. Well, there's some cells you want to grow like muscles, but there's other cells you don't want to grow like cancer cells, right? And there's a lot of research suggests that middle-aged men, for example, who overconsume protein, which most of us do, average American is twice as much protein as they need, and a third as much fiber, by the way. We should be obsessing about fiber, not protein. But have a 75% higher risk of cancer and higher mortality and morbidity from even heart disease and diabetes, and especially from and kidney disease as well, but especially from animal-based proteins. And it may have to do with the acidity. There's a different kind of amino acid makeup of the proteins from animals, because people don't realize, when we eat protein, we don't absorb protein, right? We break it down into our gut, even to the individual amino acids, or short strings, peptides, very short strings of amino acids. That's what we absorb. And then our bodies put that all back together to make the proteins that we need. And so, again, it's, there's just so much bro science about protein. I'm glad we talked about it, though, because that is the one question that I get most often.
It is. It's a very popular question. I think it's, even though, of course, we've heard it so many times, and, we've had to answer this question a lot. I think it's important that we who use the evidence continue to talk about it and let people know the truth about it. So, well, I know that we're wrapping up here on the hour. I wanted to just, again, if you guys don't mind, just sharing where people can find you, your, not only your membership program, but the YouTube, so that people can follow you and see some of your previous episodes as well.
Yeah, sure. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. Instagram's at Doc and Chef, right?
Yep.
And then
Facebook is the same.
Same, yeah.
Yep. And, so I think really probably the easiest is either just plantbasedcenter.com or docandchef.com. That you'll find us, all of our socials, contact us, all that stuff is there.
And we also travel all around, and we publish our event schedule online. So check it out. Maybe we'll be in your neighborhood sometime soon. You can come see us live in person. So it's always
amazing.
for any.
Before we wrap up, I have some exciting show and tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Caryn, do you know what this is?
It's a truffle.
Well, it's yes. And do you know
Is
where
it-
I got the recipe from?
Is that a NutriBomb?
It's a NutriBomb. I watched the lovely show on by
Chocolate.
Chef,
So that was a chocolate episode. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
and talking about the power of the omega-3s. And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, that looks so good." And I went and I made it today for the first time. Looks awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for sharing. That's
That's
awesome,
great.
Jeff.
Jeff, don't you also have another show and tell? A couple of
Oh.
like little books or
Oh
something?
yeah. Please don't forget to on their website you can check out some of these great handbooks. You guys wanted to
Yeah.
tell the audience what this is?
So Caryn and I were interested, the pillars of lifestyle medicine, for those who don't know, are nutrition, physical activity, stress, sleep, social connections, and avoiding risky substances. Those are the 6 pillars. I think I have them all. I think I checked them all.
Yep.
And so we actually wrote a book looking at the pillars of lifestyle medicine through the lens of food. And it's about 300, 400 pages, but trying to find a publisher with our 3 full-time jobs and get it published and all that was just too much. So what we decided to do is serialize it. And so we've taken each chapter in the book and turned it into a lifestyle medicine guide. And so the premise is what we talk about is why, for example, stress and mood is important, but what different we talk about the role of food and mood, right? So what foods have been shown clinically to help improve our mood, and then in the back, and there's a whole thing about the gut-brain axis. We talked about microbiome, but in the back of each book, we have the chef's corner, and there's a whole bunch of recipes. And we've got 2 published now. We've got one on sleep and one on stress. And the one on social connection should be going to our printer here pretty soon. And we saved nutrition and physical activity to the end, to the last, because there's some stuff in that space already. But really, we felt like that stress and sleep is not something we typically think about food is helping with, and we wanted to kind of get that information out there. And these are available. You can buy these as a PDF and download them on the website in our store. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so plantbasedcenter.com, and then Doc and Chef on your socials. So wonderful. Thank you again so much for being with us today. For those of you who've been watching, you can always visit us, Dr. Jeff and I, at lifestyletelemedicine.com, where we see people in all 50 states, DC, and international. We have a team of doctors, and so at least one of us is going to be located in your state. But we would love to help out with whatever goals you have, whether it's to get off medications or just have a supportive doctor who is living the lifestyle and can help you make the transition to a healthier lifestyle. And you can always call us too. Susan is wonderful. She's our patient care coordinator, and she would love to talk to you if you want to learn more about lifestyletelemedicine.com. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And until next time, I'm Dr. Nikki Davis with Lifestyle Telemedicine.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you.